Welcome back, everyone, to today's Explainer. Have you ever perfectly timed a breakout only to get bumped out by just a single tick on some tiny pullback right before the market goes on an absolutely massive tear? Oh man, we all know that pain. Well, today, we're going to fix that. We're breaking down exactly how you can ride those explosive market moves without getting shaken out prematurely. To do this, we're diving into the brilliant strategies from Franklin O. Ochoa Jr.'s book, Secrets of a Pivot Boss. We're going to lock in on a very specific tactical combination that literally solves this exact problem. Let's get right into it.
So here's our game plan for today. We'll start by spotting the trend day. Then we'll talk about shifting your trader mindset. After that, we'll dive into the mechanics of the 1.5 ATR cushion, and finally, we'll wrap up with the session boundary stop.
All right, Section 1, Spotting the Trend Day. Not every trading session is created equal, and applying this aggressive strategy on the wrong day is a fast track to frustration.
To really understand the specific market environment we're looking for, Ochoa uses this fantastic metaphor. He basically says, imagine a sprinter lined up at the starting blocks of a 100-meter dash, who eventually hits his full stride. Just like that sprinter, a true trend day starts fast right out of the gate. The sprinter maintains that top-tier speed all the way to the finish line, right? Well, the market behaves exactly the same way during these specific, kind of rare sessions. It establishes a one-way direction almost immediately and literally never looks back.
So the absolute crucial point here is that on a trend day, price conviction is at its absolute max. If we're talking about a bullish trend day, the opening print will usually mark the absolute low of the day, and it's going to close at or near the absolute high. It's wild. As the price moves further and further away from its established value, more and more participants are basically forced to jump in, which creates this massive, sustained momentum. Ochoa notes these might only happen, a few times a month, and look, we've all stubbornly fought a trend day and paid a heavy price for it. But if you manage to catch one, it can legitimately make your entire month in just a single session.
Moving on to Section 2, Shifting the Trader Mindset. Trading this sprinter-like market requires a complete psychological pivot. You absolutely cannot treat a trend day like a regular day.
Think about what has to change in your head here. On a normal, choppy day, a take-what-you-got mentality is smart, right? You use fixed profit targets, you scalp those small wins, you avoid getting greedy. But on a trend day, that exact mindset is your worst enemy. It will totally suffocate your biggest winners. You have to shift gears completely to a take-what-you-can mentality and start embracing really wide trailing profit stops.
It's exactly like poker. Great poker players always know when to hold them and when to fold them. When your chart analysis, say you spot a tight central pivot range or an open way beyond the previous day's value, when that forecasts a much wider range of movement for the day, you have to have the discipline to hold onto your position way longer than you normally would. When you recognize that setup for a trend day, you've got to be willing to just sit on your hands and let the market do the heavy lifting for you.
Okay, Section 3, the 1.5 ATR cushion. Let's dive right into the actual mechanics of giving your trades the breathing room they need to survive the market's natural intraday swings.
You definitely don't want to just jump in blindly here. There's a very disciplined chronological progression to this execution. First up, you confirm the breakout. Maybe that's a successful test of a pivot level. Second, you enter the trade. Third, always protect your capital with a fixed initial stop loss, usually right below the low of the day. But step 4, this is the real secret weapon here, you activate a 1.5 average true range, or ATR, trailing stop. Finally, step 5 is setting an auto exit near the close.
To put this into practice, imagine an E-mini Russell 2000 breakout. Say the price opens beyond the 2-day range and above R1 resistance. After a successful retest of that pivot, boom, your entry is triggered. Now think about that trailing stop, acting like a stepped line, trailing underneath the price action, following the trend upwards. That 1.5 ATR stop provides a shield that's wide enough to keep you securely in the position during those annoying minor intraday dips. The price trends steadily higher, pulling back occasionally, sure, but it never pulls back enough to pierce that critical 1.5 ATR boundary. So why that specific number? Why 1.5? Well, think of the 1.5 ATR as a really thick shock absorber. It's wide enough that the normal, noisy ebb and flow of everyday buyers and sellers won't trigger it, which keeps you securely on the ride. According to Ochoa's experience, this 1.5 cushion, specifically on a 15-minute chart, is generally exactly what you need to survive all that natural market noise while still riding the core trend. It just gives the trade the perfect amount of breathing room to capture the entire day's trending move without prematurely ejecting you.
And finally, Section 4, the session boundary stop. So we've got our entry and we've got our cushion, but how do we safely extract ourselves at the end of the day without letting our emotions totally cloud our judgment?
Let's see this whole system come together. Picture an E-mini S&P 400 trade where you get a narrow pivot range, which remember signals a potential trending session. You get a confirmed breakout, and your 1.5 ATR cushion is locked and loaded. Now focus on the exit. The trade isn't stopped out by some sudden reversal. Instead, it triggers automatically on a strict time basis, exactly 15 minutes before the market closes. That simple mechanical rule can easily lock in a handsome gain, like 6.8 points or $680 per contract without breaking a sweat.
This combination is honestly incredibly powerful. By setting an auto exit for just before the close, you're practically guaranteeing maximum profit capture right at the time when the market is typically hitting its absolute extreme for the session. Think back to our definition of a trend day earlier. It usually closes at or near the day's absolute high or low, right? Well, this boundary stop capitalizes on that exact tendency. It completely removes all that end-of-day emotional guesswork. You can literally just walk away from your screen. In fact, your absolute best-case scenario here is that your 1.5 ATR safety net is never even hit, and the boundary stop just peacefully plucks you out at the very top of the sprint.
So I'll leave you with this question to ask yourself. Are your current profit stops too tight for the market sprinters? Is your trade management suffocating your biggest potential winners? Because when the market turns into a sprinter, rigid targets are just going to leave you on the sidelines, watching the race continue without you. You've got to embrace that take-what-you-can mindset. Let the 1.5 ATR cushion and a strict time-based boundary exit be your ultimate shield. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and hey, we'll see you out there in the markets.